I never thought I'd bury a piece of myself in the manicured lawn of my sister's engagement party. But there I was, doubled over behind the rose trellis. The sharp tang of hydrangeas mixing with the coppery warmth spilling down my thighs. My mother snatched my phone from my trembling fingers before I could even dial 911. Her manicured nails digging into my skin like accusations. "Catherine, for God's sake, stop being so dramatic. This is Emily's night, not your pity party." The world tilted then. The fairy lights strung across the backyard blurring into hateful stars. And I realized with a sickening clarity that the blood wasn't just mine. It was the last tether to the life I'd been fighting to hold on to. The one my family had been quietly unraveling for years. Emily's laughter floated over from the patio, crystalline and cruel. As our guests, old money neighbors in pastel seersucker and pearl necklaces, clinked glasses to her perfect future. I wanted to scream that her fiancé was the father of the child I'd just lost. But the words stuck like thorns, because admitting it meant admitting I'd carried her sins for a decade, all to keep our golden girl facade intact. That night in the emergency room, under the harsh fluorescence of St. Mary's in downtown Atlanta, the doctor confirmed what my body had already whispered. Miscarriage. 6 weeks along. "Stress can do this," she said softly, her southern drawl laced with pity, as if she knew the cocktail of betrayal and bourbon-soaked lies that had been brewing in my veins. Mom sat in the corner, scrolling Emily's Instagram updates on my stolen phone, posting filtered selfies from the party with captions like "Sisters Forever." I stared at the foredrip, watching the saline crystallize my rage into something sharper. Something American as apple pie and loaded Glocks, revenge. Slow-cooked and served cold. It started 10 years earlier, back when we were the Winslow sisters of Buckhead, Georgia. Emily, the porcelain doll with waves of honey blonde hair and a laugh that could charm venture capitalists out of their seed money. And me, Catherine, the sturdy oak in her shadow, 5 years older. Always the fixer, the one who mopped up the messes. Our father, a real estate mogul who'd flipped half of Midtown into condos for tech bros fleeing Silicon Valley, had drilled into us that family was currency, spend it wisely, hoard the scandals. Mom, a former beauty queen turned interior designer, enforced it with passive-aggressive precision. Her weapon of choice a well-timed, bless your heart. Emily's first big screw-up came at 16, during Daddy's re-election campaign for the city council. She'd gotten drunk at a kegger in Piedmont Park, hooked up with some frat boy from Emory, and ended up pregnant. I was 21, fresh out of Emory myself, with a poli-sci degree gathering dust while I tempied at Daddy's firm. When she confessed to me in our shared bathroom, mascara rivers down her cheeks, I didn't hesitate. "I'll say it's mine," I told her. Because that's what big sisters do in families like ours, absorb the shrapnel so the heir apparent shines. We faked my pregnancy with padded bras and strategically timed doctor's appointments, and when the baby came, a squalling boy we named after Daddy's grandfather, I claimed him as mine, quitting my job to play single mom while Emily jetted off to Vanderbilt on a full ride. We called him Jack, and for 8 years, I raised him alone in a cramped apartment off Peachtree. Scraping by on child support, Daddy funneled through anonymous trusts to avoid optics. Emily graduated, landed a gig at a boutique PR firm, dated a string of trust fund assholes, and by 25, she was engaged to Tyler Hargrove, the golden boy of Atlanta finance, heir to a banking dynasty that made our real estate empire look like a lemonade stand. Tyler was everything: Yale pedigree, a jawline that could cut glass, and a family lake house in the North Georgia mountains where he'd pop the question under fireworks. But 2 months ago, over oysters at the Optimist. He'd confessed to me, "Kath,
It's you.
it's always been you." Turns out, Emily had been playing the field, and Tyler had been my quiet harbor during the storms, late-night texts turning to stolen kisses in his Tesla after business meetings at Daddy's office. I hadn't planned on falling. Hell, I hadn't planned on anything beyond surviving Jack's toddler tantrums and the endless cycle of temp gigs. But Tyler saw me, the real me, not the sacrificial lamb, and for the first time, I felt like more than Emily's shadow puppeteer. When the pregnancy test turned positive 3 weeks later, it was our secret rebellion, a baby that would bind us, force the truth into the light. I'd tell Emily over brunch at Homegrown, frame it as a family expansion. Naive,
Right?
in the South. Blood ties are thicker than sweet tea, but they're also laced with arsenic. The party was Emily's coronation, 200 guests in the sprawling backyard of our family home on West Paces Ferry. Caterers from canoe-slinging shrimp and grits. A string quartet playing Southern Nights. I'd arrived early, helping Mom fluff the hydrangea centerpieces. Jack, now 9, all gangly limbs and my hazel eyes, tugging at my skirt, asking why Annie looked at him funny sometimes. Because she's happy for us.
But I lied.
Ruffling his hair. Tyler was there. Of course. In a slim-fit navy suit, his hand brushing mine as he passed the charcuterie. A coded wink promising we'd slip away later. Then it unraveled. Emily cornered me by the pool house, her champagne flute trembling. "I know about you and Tyler. And the baby." Her voice was a hiss, eyes like chipped ice.
How?
A leaked text? One of her PR spies? Didn't matter. "He's mine."
Kath.
"You think you can just waltz in and steal my life? After everything I've done for you? Everything she'd done?" I laughed, bitter as black coffee. "Like what?"
Ain't.
"Like letting me raise your son while you played sorority queen." She slapped me then, hard enough to split my lip, the sting blooming like kudzu. "Jack's yours. Always has been. And if you breathe a word, I'll tell Daddy you coerced me, that you trapped me into that lie to sabotage my future." Coerced? The girl who'd begged on her knees, promising we'd switch back once she was ready? But Emily was a chameleon, flipping scripts like she flipped her hair, victim 1 minute, viper the next. As guests milled closer, she straightened her sheath dress, smiled that megawatt grin. "Fix this,
Kath.
or we all burn." I stumbled away, nausea rising like bile, the first cramp hitting like a freight train. By the time I reached the trellis, it was too late, the warm gush, the world narrowing to a red haze. Mom found me there, phone in hand, mid-sob. She didn't call for help. She called Emily over, whispering furiously as my sister hovered, feigning concern. "She's had too much to drink," Mom announced to the EMTs later, when someone finally noticed. Family drama. You know how it is. In the hospital, as they scraped away what was left of my future, I pieced it together. Emily hadn't just known about Tyler. She'd orchestrated it. Hired a PI to tail him. Planted doubts in his ear about my instability, the single mom baggage, the hysterical episodes she'd fabricated over years of gaslighting. And the miscarriage?
Stress.
Sure. But she'd spiked my sparkling water with something, God knows what, procured from one of her wellness guru friends peddling calming tinctures. The talk screen came back clean. Of course, these things are designed to vanish like Southern manners under pressure. Discharged at dawn, I drove Jack to school in my beat-up Honda. The radio droning Adele's hello like a dirge. Mom had kept my phone until morning, deleting texts, scrubbing evidence. For your own good.
Catherine.
We protect our own. Protect? She'd buried Emily's pregnancy deeper than the family vault, coaching me through the adoption papers that made Jack legally mine irrevocable. Even when Emily whispered doubts in my ear at Thanksgiving, wondering if he felt right, I'd borne the whispers at PTA meetings. The judgmental side-eyes from playgroup moms who saw me as the knocked-up dropout, not the savior.
But now?
Now I saw the rot. Daddy's empire wasn't built on flips, it was on cover-ups. A bribery scandal in the 90s where Emily, even as a kid, had overheard the deals and kept silent for pony rides and private schools. I'd taken the fall for a forged permit on one of his developments at 25, pleading guilty to a misdemeanor to keep his name clean, spending a night in Fulton County lockup while he golfed at East Lake. Family first, he'd said, slipping me a bonus check. Emily had watched from the sidelines, learning the game, then playing it better, blackmailing a rival developer last year for her promotion, flipping alliances like poker chips. Revenge didn't hit me in a blaze. It simmered, slow as Brunswick stew on a cast-iron stove. I started small, anonymous tips to Tyler's family about Emily's wild youth, vague enough to sow doubt without naming names. He called me that night, voice cracking over the line. Kath, is it true? About
Jack.
I let the silence stretch. Then, ask her yourself.
He did.
And by week's end, the engagement was postponed, Tyler holed up in his Buckhead loft, drowning in bourbon and regret. Emily retaliated fast, slashing my tires outside Jack's school, then playing the victim when I filed a police report. She's unhinged.
Mom.
After everything we've done, Mom bought it hook, line, and sinker, cutting off my access to the family trust, leaving me scraping ramen for Jack's soccer cleats. But I was done playing defense. I hired a lawyer, a shark from Decatur with a grudge against old money, and sued for custody reinforcement, citing Emily's interference in my mental health. The PI I'd flipped to my side dug up gold, texts from Emily to her sorority sisters, boasting about borrowing Tyler to test his loyalty, and bank records showing she'd funneled hush money to the frat boy who'd fathered Jack, ensuring his silence. The deposition was a bloodless coup. Emily arrived in Chanel, hair blown out like she was heading to the governor's mansion. But under oath, she crumbled, flipping from denial to deflection, accusing me of jealousy-fueled lies. The judge, a no-nonsense black woman from East Point, saw through it. MS. Winslow, your sister's borne your burdens long enough. This court's about truth, not pageantry. Emily's eyes met mine across the oak table, and for the first time, I saw fear, not the performative kind,
but the raw,
Atlanta humidity-slick terror of losing control. But revenge isn't a straight shot down I-85, it's riddled with detours and doublebacks. Tyler came crawling back, swearing he'd leave his family, his firm, for me and Jack. We can start over in Austin, tech scenes booming. No ghosts. I almost said yes, picturing us in a craftsman bungalow, Jack trading Confederate statues for Longhorn games. But then the twist, a late-night call from Daddy, voice gravelly from cigars and regret.
Kath.
Emily's pregnant.
For real this time.
Tyler's. The room spun, my free hand clutching the kitchen counter where Jack's drawings fluttered like indictments. She'd flipped the script again, seduced him back with promises of the heir his WASP dynasty craved, while I'd been too busy plotting to notice the trap. Or had she? The dates. It lined up with our stolen nights. Was it mine? Tyler's confusion mirrored mine when I confronted him at his office. The skyline mocking us through floor-to-ceiling glass. I don't know.
Kath.
God. I don't know. Emily had played us both. Her maw of ambition swallowing holes. The climax came at the family intervention Mom orchestrated in the sunroom. Magnolias heavy with false bloom outside. Emily, 5 months along, perched on the chintz sofa like a Madonna, hands splayed over her bump. See what you've done, she accused, tears artfully glistening. Driven a wedge for what? A grudge? Tyler stood by her, arm protective, his eyes pleading apology. Daddy nursed a scotch, Mom wringing her pearls. Jack was upstairs, oblivious, building Lego empires. I laid it all bare then, not with screams, but with folders, the PI reports, the texts, the adoption addendum Emily had forged to claim partial rights to Jack years later. Just in case. You've taken everything, I said, voice steady as the Chattahoochee in flood. My youth, my reputation, my child. And now my baby, too. The room fractured, Mom gasping, Daddy's glass shattering on the slate floor. Emily lunged, but Tyler held her back, whispering, Enough.
Eminência. Jesus.
In that moment, I could have ended it clean, demand the trust reinstated, custody ironclad, Tyler's ring back in my palm. But controversy's the spice of Southern Gothic. I chose the gut punch. Keep Tyler, I told her, sliding the folders across the coffee table. Keep the baby. But Jack stays with me, and you never speak his name again. Or I go public. Every blog from Jezebel to the AJC gets the Winslow sisters' dirty laundry, the fake pregnancy, the cover-ups, the incestuous not of our perfect family. She agreed. Of course, lipstick smeared and snarling, but agreeing. Tyler followed me out to the driveway, rain slicking the gravel like tears.
Kath. Please.
It could be yours. I kissed him goodbye, tasting salt and lies. Doesn't matter. Blood's just the starting bid. We moved to Nashville 2 months later, me and Jack, in a shotgun house off Music Row, where the neon hums lullabies and second chances. I landed a job at a nonprofit, fighting for women's rights in red state shadows, channeling the rage into something sharper than spite. Emily's wedding made page 6. Southern heiress ties the knot amid family feud whispers. But the baby came early, colicky, and Tyler's text to me dried up, replaced by LinkedIn updates about his sabbatical. The twist? A paternity test Emily leaked to spite me, proving the baby's his. Not mine. But in the quiet of my new life, watching Jack score his first goal under Friday night lights, I wonder, did I win? Or just trade one cage for another? She got the empire. The ring, I got the truth. Scarred but free. Readers, you decide, who's the villain in this pageant of betrayals? The sister who schemed, the mother who enabled, the lover who wavered, or the one who finally drew the line with a blade of her own making? I settled into Nashville like kudzu claiming cracked concrete, relentless, but with a green shoot of hope. The house on 12th Avenue South smelled of fresh paint and possibility. Its yellow clapboard a far cry from Buckhead's manicured mausoleums. Jack adapted faster than I did, trading his private school uniform for Levi's and a Vols hoodie, charming the baristas at Frothy Monkey with his gap-toothed grin.
Mom. Can we get a dog?
Like, a real one. Not that fancy purse pup Auntie M had.
Ito.
ruffling his hair,
and say,
soon.
buddy.
Real life's got room for mutts. Work was my anchor, community legal aid, where I advocated for women tangled in custody wars and domestic veils. Irony?
Sure.
But every deposition I prepped, every sob story I turned into strategy, chipped away at the Winslow weight on my chest. Tyler called sporadically, drunk dials at 2 a.m., slurring apologies over the twang of Miranda Lambert on his Spotify.
Kath.
It's hell here. Emily's. Intense. The baby's got her eyes. But you're fire. I swear. I'd hang up, heart twisting like a wrung dish rag, because part of me still ached for the what-ifs. What if I'd fought for him? What if the miscarriage hadn't been the universe's cruel editor, excising our maybe family? Emily,
Meanwhile,
reigned from afar. Her Instagram was a curated fever dream, gender reveal yacht parties on Lake Lanier, sponsored posts for her empowerment podcast, From Scandal to Strength, Owning Your Narrative. She flipped the script masterfully, painting me as the troubled sibling who'd struggled with postpartum, her pregnancy the phoenix from our ashes. Mom amplified it, forwarding links with notes like, proud of her resilience. Wish you'd find yours.
dear.
Resilience? I'd borne a child for her, bled for her secrets, yet here I was, villainized for daring to exhale. The first crack in her armor came 6 months post-move, via a manila envelope slipped under my door, no return address.
Postmarked Atlanta.
Inside, a USB drive and a typed note.
Truth has a price.
Pay up, or it goes viral. My hands shook as I plugged it into my laptop, the screen blooming with files, audio clips,
Grainy videos.
Emily's digital skeletons. The first was a recording from her Vanderbilt days, her voice, slurry with Boone's farm, confessing to Daddy's bribery scheme over a burner phone. I covered for you.
Pops.
Now you owe me that internship at Hargrove Bank. Blackmail. Casual as tailgating. Deeper dives revealed more. Emails to the frat boy, wiring him hush money with threats, disappear. Or Jack's paternity hits the alumni newsletter. And the kicker, a video from the engagement party, time-stamped an hour before my collapse. Emily in the pool house, slipping something into a flute of Veuve, then handing it to a caterer with instructions. For Catherine. Tell her it's from Tyler. The tincture, misoprostol, procured off-label from a holistic doc in little 5 points, meant to induce calm but potent enough to trigger labor in early pregnancy. She'd meant to scare me, not scar me, but intense a slippery slope in revenge's courtroom.
Who sent it?
The note was anonymous, but the watermark on the files screamed insider, Tyler's firm's forensic IT guy. Maybe. Or one of Emily's jilted sorority sisters tired of her queen bee BS. Didn't matter, it was dynamite. I could torch her world, leak to the AJC, watch the Hargrove merger crumble under ethics clauses, Daddy's empire audited into oblivion. But power's a drug, and I was jonesing for the hit, slow, savoring, American justice twisted into vigilante poetry. I started with whispers. An anonymous email to Tyler's sister, the family conscience, the audio of Emily's bribes, captioned your brother's marrying a ghost. She forwarded it to their mother, a junior leaguer with a Rolodex of influence, and suddenly Emily's podcast sponsorships dried up, whispers of shady dealings circulating at the Capitol Grill luncheons. Emily fired back. Of course, hiring her own PI to tail me, snapping pics of me at honky-donks with coworkers, twisting them into unfit mother fodder for a custody challenge. She flipped alliances like a politician at a fundraiser, cozying up to Mom with spa days and sonograms, painting me as the exile who'd abandoned family. Mom called then, her voice a saccharine blade. "Catherine, Emily's devastated. This baby's a blessing. Don't poison it with your bitterness." Bitterness? I'd swallowed hers for a decade. "Tell her to choke on it," I snapped, hanging up as Jack bounded in from school, backpack slung low. That night, over meatloaf and mashed potatoes, real food, not catered illusions, I told him a sanitized version. Annie M. and I had a fight, like when you and Tyler argue over Fortnite. But families fix things. He nodded solemnly. Then, Mom, are you happy here? Without the big house. I pulled him close, inhaling the scent of playground dirt and innocence. Happier than I've been in years. Kiddo. The escalation hit warp speed when Emily showed up unannounced, 6 weeks before her due date, pounding on my door in a Tesla she'd borrowed from Tyler. Rain lashed the porch like Atlanta judgment, her white dress clinging translucent, belly a defiant curve. "You bitch," she spat as I cracked the door, Jack peeking from the stairs. "Whatever you're doing, stop. Tyler's leaving me, says he can't trust the baby now." Her eyes, red-rimmed, held no tears, just fury, pure as moonshine. I could have slammed the door, called the cops on trespassing. Instead, I stepped out, closing it soft behind me. It's not about trust.
Eminencia.
It's about lies. Yours. Mostly. I laid out the USB's greatest hits, the video, the threats, watching her face cycle through denial, rage, calculation. She flipped then, hand on her bump like a shield. "You think you're better? You stole my son, raised him as yours out of spite, because no one ever chose you." Spite? I'd chosen her. Every diaper. Every fevered night. "Jack's mine because you weren't woman enough to claim him." And this.
Y no eres a peli.
If it's Tyler's,
Congrats.
if not, well, you've got practice covering tracks. She lunged, nails raking my arm, a wildcat in labor with her empire. We grappled on the wet porch, rain mingling with the metallic tang of blood from a split knuckle, hers or mine. Who cared? Jack's scream from inside shattered it. I shoved her back, both of us panting like wrestlers in a mud pit.
Go y gest.
Before I show him who his real aunt is. She straightened, smoothing her dress like armor, and drove off into the storm, taillights fading like a bad country ballad. Tyler's text exploded after. "What did you do?" "She's in the hospital, early contractions." Guilt gnawed. But so did justice. I'd pushed. Yes. But she'd swung first. The baby came that night. A girl. 7 pounds even. Named Amelia after Mom's maiden name. Emily posted the nursery reveal from her hospital bed, blush pinks and crystal mobiles. Caption: "Miracle in the making." But offline. Cracks spiderwebbed. Tyler filed for divorce citing irreconcilable trust issues, Daddy's bored whispering impeachment, Mom booking therapy sessions for the whole damn clan. I held back the kill shot, the viral leak, because revenge's true high isn't destruction, it's reconstruction. I met with a mediator in Chattanooga, neutral ground under the shadow of Lookout Mountain. Emily arrived late, waddling in Lululemon, Tyler trailing like a whipped hound. We divvied the spoils. She kept the ring, pawned discreetly for seed money. The baby, hers by blood and choice. And a chunk of the trust to start fresh. I got full custody of Jack, irrevocable, No appeals, and a non-disclosure sealing our sins. Plus enough to buy that mutt. A scruffy lab, mix we named Scout. But the flip came in the parking lot. Rain slicked again. As Tyler handed me a thumb drive, his copy of the files. For insurance, he said. Eyes haunted. In case she tries again. Insurance? Or ignition? I pocketed it. Kissed his cheek, fraternal now. The spark long guttered, and drove home to Jack's homemade lasagna. The oven's warmth chasing the chill. Months blurred into a fragile peace. Emily relocated to Charleston, launching a Mommy Mogul brand, organic babywear laced with her redemption arc. Tyler vanished into therapy and triathlons, occasionally liking my posts about Jack's science fair wins. Mom sent birthday cards with checks, footnotes apologizing in cursive loops. And me? I dated a musician, tattooed forearms. A voice like gravel and grace, who taught me forgiveness isn't forgetting, it's repurposing the scar tissue. The final twist landed like a FedEx from hell, a letter from Emily. Postmarked Sullivan's Island. Addressed to Jack.
Inside.
A locket with her baby photo, and his, side-by-side. Undeniable. To my nephew. Love always.
Ao tia eminência. Nos reds.
No barbs, just a olive branch. Or a hook. Jack opened it while I was at the market, clutching the chain like a talisman. Mom, why do we look the same? The room tilted. My grocery bags hitting the floor, apples rolling like escaped truths. I could lie again, bury it deeper. Or tell him, let the boy choose his blood. Readers, here's the debate. Did I doom him to our cycle by shielding too long? Or free him by finally fracturing the facade? Emily's move, genius or desperation? As Jack's eyes searched mine, wide with questions, I realized revenge's endgame isn't victory. It's the mirror it holds up, forcing you to reckon with the monster you fed. And in that Nashville kitchen, under the hum of the fridge and the weight of what comes next, I chose the truth. Messy. American.
Ours.
Truth-telling in a family like ours is less a conversation and more a controlled detonation. Brace for fallout. Duck the shrapnel. I sat Jack down on the threadbare sofa, the locket glinting like a Judas coin on the coffee table, and started at the beginning. Not the sanitized Sunday school version, but the raw gospel, Emily's teenage panic. My big sister packed. The nights I'd rocked him through colic while she sorority hopped. You're mine,
Jack.
Chosen, not chance. But blood's a story, too, and yours has two authors. He listened, knees drawn up. That preteen mix of stoicism and storm clouds. So, Aunt Em's my mom? Like, real mom. The word hung, fragile as a soap bubble. I nodded, throat tight. Biologically?
Yeah.
But moms aren't biology. They're the ones who stay. He fiddled with the locket, flipping it open and shut. Then, does Dad know? Tyler. I mean, Tyler, the man who'd coached his little league. Snuck him extra innings at Braves games. The man who'd maybe fathered a half-sibling in that tangled web. Not yet, I said, pulling him into a hug that smelled of peanut butter and possibility. But we'll tell him together. If you want. Jack nodded against my shoulder. The decision is now a kid's agency in a saga of stolen choices. We called Tyler the next day, speakerphone crackling with Nashville static. His voice broke on the line. Hey?
Sean.
Yeah. I knew. Suspected. Emily told me after the wedding fell apart. Suspected. The word stung. Another layer peeled. But Jack, bless him, steered it steady. It's cool.
I guess. Just.
Don't fight over me like grown-ups do. Tyler promised visits. Therapy, the full co-parenting toolkit. And just like that, the boy who'd been my secret became our shared horizon. Emily's letter sparked a tentative thaw. She emailed me coordinates for a meetup, neutral turf. A park in Chattanooga overlooking the Tennessee River, where the water runs wide and forgiving. I arrived wary. Scout's leash taut in one hand, Jack's in the other. She was there on a bench, Amelia bundled in a sling against her chest, looking less Magnolia Queen and more mortal, hair in a messy bun. Yoga pants frayed at the hems. Truce, she said.
No Ismail.
Just the offer extended like a white flag. We walked the trail, leaves crunching underfoot like brittle apologies. Jack hung back with Amelia, cooing at her tiny fists, while Emily and I dissected the corpse of our sisterhood. I was scared, she admitted, voice low, of losing the life Daddy mapped. You were always the brave one, taking the hits so I could shine. Brave? Or brainwashed? I countered with my scars, the PDA snubs, the lovers who'd ghosted at baggage mentions, the miscarriages ghost haunting my cycles. She flipped then, defensive. You think I wanted this? Raising Jack alone would have tanked me, Vandy. The firm. Tyler. I was a kid.
Kath. A kid.
At 25. Plotting my takedown? But the river's murmur softened the edges. Maybe we were both victims of the Winslow machine. Gears grinding daughters into dynastic dust. The baby, I said, nodding at Amelia. Tyler's? She hesitated. Then, mostly.
But.
There's a chance. The dates overlap. Overlap. My gut twisted, our affair's shadow lingering in her womb. Paternity tests loomed like storm clouds. But for once, I didn't claw for certainty. Let it be, I said. Blood's overrated. The real controversy brewed back home, when Mom descended like a genteel hurricane. She'd booked flights, therapy retreats, anything to mend the rift. Our first session in a beige midtown office.
Dr. Hargrotov, Nori Laschen.
Thank God, prodding like a therapist in a Lifetime movie. Catherine, you've carried resentment like a cross. Emily, your manipulations stemmed from fear. How do we forgive? Forgive? Mom jumped in. Family's forgiveness incarnate. Darling. We've all erred, your father with his business, me with my blinders.
Aired.
A polite veil for Daddy's indictments dodged. Mom's pills popped in panic. I laid it bare. Forgiveness isn't free.
Y'all.
It's work, reparations, not rhetoric. Emily nodded. Surprising us. Kath's right. I owe her. The trust. The lies. I'll sign it over. Mom gasped. Daddy, zooming from his golf retreat, sputtered about legacy. But the doctor leaned in. Legacy's what you build forward. Mr. Winslow. Not hoard. The session cracked open floodgates. Daddy confessed the bribery's roots, his own father's moonshine runs during Prohibition. The family's original sin. Mom admitted spiking Emily's vitamins back in high school to keep her focused, a generational echo. And Tyler, joining via video from his Austin rehab stint. I flipped for the easy path, Emily's polish over Kath's depth. Won't again. Jack, eavesdropping from the waiting room, piped up, can we all just play board games? Without the yelling? We tried. A Winslow summit at the lake house, awkward as a family reunion after divorce. Barbecue ribs smoked low and slow. Cornhole games masking the tension. Emily and I tag-teamed Amelia's bedtime, her gurgles bridging our gulf. Tyler tossed a football with Jack, their laughs echoing off the pines. Even Mom unplugged, swapping pearls for a PBR. But undercurrents swirled. Daddy's side eyes at the reparations check he cut me, $500,000. Enough for law school nights. Emily's podcast went on hiatus. Rebranded Unfiltered Kin, vulnerable vignettes that spiked listens but drew trolls calling her cancel bait. The polarizing peak hit at Christmas. 2 years post-miscarriage. I'd finished my paralegal cert, arguing cases that echoed my own. Women gaslit into silence. Tyler and I, friends with history, co-parenting Jack through weekend handoffs. Amelia's tests confirming his paternity, a quiet relief. No sa those. Emily thrived in Charleston, her brand booming, but cracks showed postpartum blues she'd hidden behind filters. A separation whisper from Tyler that never fully died. Then the bomb, Jack, 11 now and mouthy, unearthed the adoption papers in my attic boxes. Curious kid. My curse and gift. Mom, why'd you lie? All this time? The hurt in his eyes was a fresh wound, deeper than any I'd inflicted. He bolted to Emily's for the holidays, uninvited, demanding answers. She called me sobbing. Kath, he's here, won't stop asking about the locket. The lies. What do I say? For once, no flip, just fragility. I drove through the night, snow dusting the Appalachians like powdered sugar on regret. Arrived at dawn to her beach cottage. Jack curled on the porch swing, locket clutched. We three sat in the kitchen over grits and grief, piecing the puzzle without polish. I was wrong, Emily said, hand on his. Scared and selfish. But your mom's the hero. She chose love over easy. Jack looked between us. Then you're both kinda sucky.
But
family, right? The twist that sparked the forum fires? I leaked the files, not all. But enough. A redacted podcast episode on the cost of secrets, anonymized but unmistakable. It went viral. Winslow sisters trending from TikTok therapy bros to Fox and Friends fingerwaggers. Emily's brand skyrocketed as relatable real, mine as the whistleblower warrior. Critics split. Was I vengeful? Profiting on pain? Or emancipatory? Shattering the silence. Daddy's empire wobbled under SEC scrutiny. But he pivoted to ethical developments, greenwashing his way back. Ending? Not tidy bows, but a bi-coastal blend, Jack shuttling summers between us. Amelia calling me Auntie Kath with Tyler's dimples. Emily and I text recipes. Not recriminations, sisters. Scarred but stitched. Mom gardens in Buckhead. Therapy her new debutante ball. Tyler dates a barista. Finds his footing. Happy? In the American way, imperfect, resilient, with a side of what-ifs. Tragic? If you count the child, I lost. The youth pilfered. But as I watched Jack graduate high school under Nashville lights, diploma in hand, Emily and Tyler cheering from the bleachers, I know, revenge wasn't the win. It was the wedge that let light in. Debatable? Damn right. Who's right in the wreckage? The betrayed who strikes back? Or the betrayer who bends toward light? You tell me. Over bourbon neat.